because we are walking the ideas that he has among the many. He has so many ideas. The topic given to me is about speaking with impact, storytelling in advocacy, public storytelling, communication for advocacy. And I just picked a few words. One is to speak, the other is an impact, there's a storytelling, there's an advocacy. Peter need a whole day to talk about this, not just 10 minutes. But what does it mean? To speak is to say something, is to convey a message, is to convey an idea. It's an opinion that you want to share with the others. What is the impact that this saying is going to create on the others? And when you talk about the impact, it is that force. Impact is that change, is that effect that what you're saying is going to have on someone. What is this storytelling? I enjoyed it most as a child. When I was growing up, we would sit around the fire and our grannies would tell us stories. That is a form of education, and we learned a lot from that time. So that storytelling is very, very important because we learn and then we have to share. So my colleagues here say quite a lot about the skill. Storytelling, public speaking is a skill. There are people who are talented, they are born with it, they speak it really well. But there are some of us who have to learn. And so when we learn these stories, we also narrate. And that's what we are taught to do as children, as for generations. They'll teach you, this is what happened and this is where you're going. Advocacy, what are we up to? It's an act of pleading or arguing in favor of a cause, or policy or individual. It involves support or recommending a cause. Here we talk about public. Public is the general population or even a section of population that you're speaking to. But when it comes to communication, it's one of the big thing in the room. It means sending or receiving information or exchange of ideas or even of news. And we realize that to speak, speaking and communication is more or less the same, but they're not exactly the same. Speaking is one thing, but communication is so broad. Including speaking is into the communication. So what are we doing here today? They told us we're going to have public speaking, and that's some skill that we'd like to learn. I would like to talk about communication, which is much broader, and I will just go straight to the tips for the communication. And one of the tips that we need to take very seriously on communication is taking communication as an infrastructure. So you could have some silos, but then you want to connect these silos. It's one corner to the other. We need to link it up, and that's how we should look at communication. Communication, we should take it as a multidisciplinary environment and words. Oftentimes, and a colleague has mentioned here, we speak jargons. So if it is multidisciplinary, we need to speak it in a way that the person you're communicating to, the one you're passing the message to, should be able to understand what you're saying. Because if you're going to say things that nobody understands, I am a scientist, so I'm going to talk about, I don't know what theories. If you're speaking to the lay person with the purpose of advocacy, the purpose of passing that message, then your message is not going through. You're not communicating. When we are giving a speech and you want to make a difference, we should think about the audience. I will come here and talk about something which maybe I understand, which maybe interests me, but what is your interest? What is it that I'm going to talk to? When they gave me this topic, I was thinking, so who are my audience? And I didn't do the best because I should have asked, like, who are those audience? They're just students, they may be people working in different offices, but nonetheless, we know that when you're communicating to people, you should know your audience if you want to create an impact that you'd like to make. And when you're communicating, it should be about them. It's not about you, because you want to make that change, and that is what we're working towards, the impact. When you're communicating, it's very important for us to ask the three questions: who, why, and what, and that drives your focus. Because when we say it's about them, we need to focus on the who you're speaking to and why. Why are we speaking to them? What is that message? What is it that you want to share with them? And lastly, ask about what. The other tip for us to make the communication effective is a part of, maybe you could borrow the framework called EAST, that is EAST. The E stands for easy. Your communication should be plain, you shouldn't use jargon, and you should make it actionable, because then it has a purpose to it. It should be attractive. So as we speak, it should attract attention. So when we speak and it's not attracting attention, as some colleagues have spoken before, the audience are doing their own things. They are not listening to you. They are not attentive. You should read the language in the room. You should read the body language in the room. So that tells us, is it attractive? The S stands for social. Is it shareable content? Is it a social proof that builds trust? So we should have the social shareable in mind. Timely. You should deliver at the right moment, close to the point. So we can go blah, 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 blah and speak. But does it really fit within that time? When you are speaking, we always have to ask, what do you want them to think, feel, or do? Is there an action to it? Or we just want to say, speak, and then we leave? So we have to address the point of the action to what we are saying. The last part of it is the outcome. So what are the outcomes of our speaking? I've spoken here, we've all talked here, and then we walk away. What is really the outcome to this? Is it sparking trust? Because when you speak and you would like people to take your points, you need to spark that trust. Are they able to trust you enough with your message? A colleague also spoke here telling us, what is that trust for them to believe what you're saying? You're not telling them lies, because if you say lies, then you're going to lose that trust. Is it gaining a buy-in? And you're talking about the advocacy element. Is it gaining the buy-in? Are people buying in what you're communicating to them? If you're going to advocate for a cause, is it going to bring out that cause so that people can join you and rally behind you and pursue that cause of yours? Is it promoting an action? It should have an action end point to it. To our communication it shouldn't be only the words that you say, but it should be the action or the end result. And that is a call to action. In a nutshell about the communication, we should talk, when you're probably navigating politics, or you're using AI responsibly, as mentioned earlier on, or even managing difficult conversations with senior leaders, or even skeptical communities. What are you speaking? We need to think about adaptability of what you're saying. A colleague also mentioned about clarity, and then the empathy. At the end of what you're saying, if it is to advocate for a cause, is it building that empathy so that people will join you and will build the core of communication? Are these three areas: the adaptability, the clarity, and the empathy. And I'm talking about the communication to advocacy. There's a lady called Helen Honey. She worked with the British government for quite some time, and she once said, we should speak like humans if we're going to speak to human beings. Especially to our audience. I'm sure it will come. I'll try to be a little bit louder. I hope you can hear me at the end. Public storytelling for advocacy. The question is this story a powerful, story is a powerful tool for sure, but then is what you're saying that powerful enough? How do you convince the people in the house? We should really agree that storytelling or story is actually a powerhouse. Because when you speak about something and you narrate it, especially many of us are very lazy in reading, some of us are very lazy in actually watching. But when you tell a story, it connects us. Somebody just gave an example, and I would like to mention this example here. I just come here and I tell you, work hard. Wake up early in the morning, work hard, and you'll be successful. Is that enough to convince me in order to do that course? So it's one thing that we really need to take it serious and say, you narrate it with a cause, with the empathy, with that feeling that you have, and you should wear it. And I like that expression my sister gave. You just wear it in your own skin, say it with the reality, people will buy it. How many of us watched this movie called Game of Thrones, season 8? Okay, just go and watch it. There's one of the actors called Tyrion, and he says, what unites people? Gold? Is it banners? Is it the armies? And he said, no, it is a story. And if you watch that, you'll explain to us why that story. So story helps us or allows us to advocate, to connect with the audience on an emotional level. When you tell that story, it has that kind of level of connections. It makes complex issues easy to relate with and inspiring into action. What are the aspects of effective storytelling? We talked about effective communication. How about that storytelling? It focuses on your subject. You really need to say, what is it that you're going to talk about?